What's going on, guys? This is Eggs. In today's video, the 13.8 tier list based on the changes that came out yesterday on the old Twitter, bro. So yeah, in today's video, we will be going through the champions, whether they're moving up, whether they're moving down, if they got buffed, nerfed, all these important things, right? And the tiers for this video, we have broken, we have S tier, we have low-key broken, in other words, underrated, we have your standard A to C tiers, and then for the worst tier of the bunch, this one is sponsored by these videos. Pretty much meaning that if you watch these videos, they're not going to do anything for your rank. Everyone's kind of interested in like what's OP, what's not going to be OP. You know what's OP? Actually playing like a challenger. We can teach you how to do that, man, on our website at GameLeap.com. Linked in the description and comment section. I want to start like a resurgence, man. You're not going to get better watching these vids, so watch our videos on our website instead. Get exclusive access to our library of content, which is added to on the daily, and you will climb quicker than you have ever done before. So check out those links down below. Now let's get into the tier list, and we'll start by talking about the top lane tier list for 13.8. Now you guys can see that the most broken champions are exactly the same from last patch. Fiora, Jax, Malphite, Riven. Yes, Malphite might be getting nerfed, but I don't think the nerfs are going to be big enough because he's so OP anyway. Honestly, last patch and this current patch 13.7, there should be a separate tier for Malphite. He is just that busted. This will bring him back in line a little bit, so the nerfs to your W, right? If you're going to max this first, you might have to think about just maxing your Q first, which is still like the typical popular build, so you're not really going to lose too much, but you are going to lose a little bit of power because of the nerfs regardless. So Malphite will still be really good though, that's why he's in broken alongside the other champions. And we talked yesterday about a couple of top laners, so Garen was one of them because your base armor and base attack damage is increasing by a fair bit. This is really going to improve your early game. So Garen is moving all the way into S tier. Other champions we should definitely mention here, one includes Poppy, who's moving up into A tier because of the buffs. And as far as the other champions getting buffed or nerfed, there really aren't many. Cosmic Drive is changing, so there's might see like other champions like maybe Sylas, Ryze might become a little bit better, but honestly it's not really going to change the landscape of top lane too much. And as far as your low-key broken champions go, we have Kled, Maokai, Rumble, Tryndamere, and Zed. And Zed is a really surprising inclusion. I will talk about all of these guys in a future video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And then as far as the actual these videos tier goes, so the worst champions in top lane at the moment, Aurelion Sol because of the nerfs hitting him in 13.8, where you're getting less health throughout a game and less armor on top of that, he's going to be a lot more killable, and that's very scary in the top lane because most champions you go against will be attack damage based. And Yasuo is here because he's really fallen off in solo lanes since the changes from last patch. Because you need 4 stacks for your E, it makes it a lot more difficult to actually play this champion and be a laning threat compared to before. So Yasuo and Aurelion Sol, please don't play these guys in the top lane. Apart from that, everything else is largely staying the same. Any questions about the tier list, let us know in the comment section. Then moving into the mid lane, the other solo role. Well, we talked about Aurelion Sol already, right? Who's moving down all the way to B tier because of the nerfs we just mentioned. But as far as champions who really aren't getting nerfed, we can see him broken. We have Ahri, Annie, Cassiopeia, and then Vex. So unfortunately, we do have 4 AP champions. There isn't really much variety here. I could have put maybe Talon in broken tier. Even Kiana is performing very well at the moment. So these champions are still good. You also have Zed, Pantheon, Aurelia, Akshan as well. There are a bunch of attack damage champions who are still strong. But as far as the most broken mid laners go, pretty much across every single elo, guys, these champions will be there. Ahri because of the bust from last patch, more armor, less cooldown on your ultimate. This is super useful and has proven to be, even though the Annie nerfs from last patch were targeted at her support. Yes, mid lane got a little bit worse, but a bit like Malphite, right? She's still so good anyway, so she's in broken as well. Cassiopeia, ever since they changed like Rod of Aegis, Saras, I mean Rod of Aegis you don't have to go. Leandri's into Saras sounds a lot better, right? But then after that you can go something like Gargoyle Stoneplate. Long range mages as well really aren't that strong who counter you, like Syndra who does well against Cassiopeia. Maybe something like Xerath, Vel'Koz. These champions, well, first of all, you don't really see them that much, and they're not really that strong. With the engage meta at the moment, especially from the support role, Cassiopeia does so well against all of these champions because of Petrifying Gaze and W's and Q's, well, they're just so easy to land because champions are closer to you, and that's kind of the same thing for Vex as well. Just make sure if you guys are playing either of these champions, you probably want to ban Veigar because Baby Gandalf is pretty much impossible for these two champions. Now, apart from that, other champions who are getting changed in 13.8 in the mid lane, well, really there's not that many because Zoe got pulled from the patch and Aurelion Sol, who I mentioned, that's really about it. But we do have Malphite in low-key broken, and he is alongside Azir, Garen, who we talked about getting some big buffs, Lissandra, Malzahar, Orianna, and Zoe. And I know Zoe's getting pulled from the patch. The reason I've put her here is just because people don't understand how good this champion is in solo queue and in an actual 1v1. Pretty much doesn't lose against any champion, and of course, like some people are going to say, but she does. Well, she really doesn't if you know how to play the mid lane and actually play this champion effectively. And again, these other champions like Azir, Lissandra, Malzahar, Orianna, we will talk about in detail what it is that makes them low-key broken so you guys can play them and abuse them next patch. Apart from that, everything, guys, is really staying the same. Just make sure you're not playing Kale or even Teemo in the mid lane. These two champions, play them in the top lane. I kind of just wanted to put a couple of champions here, and these two happen to be it. Again, any questions about the mid lane tier list, let us know in the comment section. Now moving into the jungle, the last solo role, if you will, on Summoner's Rift in 13.8. Well, in Broken Tier, we have a new addition. Belveth, Echo, and Evelyn are still saying the same, but we have Nidalee this time, and why did Riot do this, man? I mean, hopefully it won't go through. Sorry to all you Nidalee mains out there, but I really hope it doesn't, because your base armor and armor growth going up, how much it is going to go up, it's just absurd, man. Like, I don't know why they did this. Like, if you guys are playing against a Nidalee or even playing Nidalee, I'd say maybe in what, like Master Plus, like this champion's gonna be so oppressive. She doesn't have any counters in the jungle anyway. Like, why did they do this, man? I don't know. There must be a skin coming out or something, or someone plays Nidalee in gold NA Elo from the balance team, something like that. But anyway, she's gonna be really busted. So lots of AP champions here. Belveth the standout attack damage champion. Now J4, someone who was broken from last patch, who's now going down to S tier. You're getting less attack damage throughout a game. Your Q's damage is nerfed by 10 in the early game because you're maxing this first. This will certainly impact your early game, so you're going to get less kills. You will be more killable as the game progresses. Now another champion getting nerfed, we have Blue Kayn, who is still going to be an S tier, so for Shadow Kayn, because your E is getting nerfed in terms of the cooldown going up by 1 second, and the bonus movement speed you get from this going down by 10%, this is actually going to affect you a little bit, but again, I still think you're holding on to like pretty much what makes you powerful or most of it. So you won't have to worry too much, and I kind of like that they nerfed him because Blue Kayn is actually proven to be one of the strongest junglers ever since they buffed him and gave you like scaling damage a few patches ago. So probably warranted to bring him back in line just a little bit. Now we also have Kha'Zix, guys, who's getting some big buffs in 13.8. Well, it's only one buff, and this is to your Q's base damage, which means it's a big buff. This increasing by 10 means that in the early game, in terms of clearing camps, in terms of 1v1ing the enemy jungler, in terms of getting kills from ganks, all of these things, right, you are more powerful. This is going to allow you to snowball a lot more and yet secure more early kills. That is what you want in this champion, because you're not the best champion early game, like really before level 6. If you can get those kills, oh man, like you just feel so good about yourself. This is going to allow you to do just that. Now we also have Lilia, who's getting buffed, and Lilia has moved up from B tier to A tier because of the buffs. Your clear speed is going to improve, your damage generally is going to improve, and even the healing you're getting of dealing damage to the camps, that's going up as well. Now we also have Poppy, and I probably should have mentioned it for the top lane, and Poppy has gone up a tier in both tier lists, from B tier into A tier, because you'll be dealing more damage from your Q, and your W is going to make you even more tankier now. This is really good for Poppy, and I think that in most games you can actually play this champion because Engage is really popular at the moment, and lots of champions have dashes and you can really cuck them, so picking Poppy into the right team composition can be very powerful. Apart from that, guys, that's about it. Just don't play Twitch jungle. Now moving into the bot lane here, the AD carries, guys, who are going to be super OP and super bad in 13.8. Well, we've kind of like switched around a little bit the broken and S tiers from last patch, because Draven is moving up into broken tier across like every single elo, guys. This guy is the standard AD carry at the moment, especially in high relos like Master, and then you go to Challenger. He's number 1 by a long shot. Jinx is next to him, and then Zai, because they are the 2 next best. Now if we go to S tier, we have Nyla, Twitch, and Vayne. Nyla is really here just because of the meta, and I think she's still like pretty innately good, and Twitch and Vayne because, well, just the same thing, right? They're innately strong. Vayne, especially because of the recent buffs, they have made her a lot better in the bot lane. Also because I feel like top laners these days are getting a lot tankier. Vayne, because of the actual true damage you have, you shred them. Now low-key broken, Kai'Sa is still here because AP Kai'Sa is actually, statistically speaking, the better way to play her, and again, I will elaborate on these builds, all the setups you have to have on these champions in a future video. Karthus is here. He's actually a new addition because I just can't ignore it anymore, guys. Like the stats are just telling us that Karthus in the bot lane, because of all the close rangeness, he's going to pop off. It's also the same reason in jungle he's kind of like skyrocketed into being OP recently. That's because of how the meta's changing. Samira, exactly the same thing. Close range combat. Veigar, exactly the same thing. Close range combat. The other champions we might have to mention here, guys, Ezreal is getting buffs to your base AD. That is seeing him go from C tier into B tier. We also have Kog'Maw or Pog'Maw, who's getting a lot of buffs. So your passive damage is increasing, your Q's cooldown is decreasing, but who cares about this? And even though your E's mana cost is going down in the early game and the slow is increasing, this doesn't really matter, right? Like maybe if you're playing AP Kog'Maw in the mid lane with an E max, that might be useful, but it's not really going to enhance the power of Pog'Maw. Apart from that, that's about it for the AD carry role, guys. Just make sure you're not playing Teemo. I just wanted to put a champion there, and Teemo happened to be the one. Now, as far as supports go for 13.8, guys, Broken Tier is exactly the same, really, but we're just missing Rakan. So Blitzcrank, Nautilus, Senna, no changes to these champions. That means they're still going to be busted. In S tier, we have Annie, Pyke, Rakan, and Thresh. It's pretty much been the same 7 to kind of like 8-ish champions, plus or minus a few, for the last few patches, and yeah, that's just going to continue, right? The Rakan nerfs to his armor and then to his armor growth. They've seen him drop a tier from Broken. In low-key Broken, we do do have a champion who's getting buffed, this being Leona. So you're getting more armor and magic resist from your W, and you're also getting more magic damage from this, an extra 10 base damage. This is really big. This means that for your all-ins, particularly level 3, they're just more deadly. And of course, when you get your ultimate as well. Alistair is also getting buff, guys, so your ultimate is going to last 1.5 seconds longer. This doesn't really mean too much. I mean, like, yeah, okay, it's going to last longer. Maybe it's useful in a few fights, but he's still largely going to be the same Mukau. That's why he's in A tier still. Apart from that, that's really about it for the bot lane. Just, yeah, make sure you're not playing Nasus or Yasuo. That's really to all you Chad Yasuos going like Wind Wall max support Yasuo. And yeah, all of you guys playing Nasus, I know that was like kind of hype recently. I've always said it was trash. It's still trash and will always be trash. Stop playing Nasus support if you're thinking about it. Those were the tier list, guys, for 13.8. Thank you so much for watching the video. I will see you in tomorrow's upload. Make sure you stick around for it. This has been EZCHALLENGER. Peace.